Admiral Kepler watched through the reinforced viewport of the UES Defiant as the Vorthan Armada assembled in perfect formation across the void. Their ships gleamed like polished obsidian against the starfield, each one a masterpiece of alien engineering that dwarfed humanity's modest fleet. The largest of their dreadnoughts stretched nearly 5 kilometers from bow to stern, bristling with energy weapons that could glass a planet. "Sir," Communications Officer Chen reported from her station, "they're broadcasting on all frequencies. Put it through." The bridge speakers crackled to life, filled with the melodious yet condescending voice of Admiral Zethkalar. The universal translator struggled with the Vorthan's complex harmonics, but the message was clear enough. "Primitive humans," the alien commander began, his words dripping with amusement. "We commend you for your courage in facing the inevitable. Your tiny vessels are quaint, like toys crafted by children who dream of sailing among the stars." Kepler's jaw tightened as laughter echoed across the comm channel, not just from Zethkalar but from what sounded like the entire Vorthan bridge crew. He could imagine similar scenes playing out across their massive fleet. "We offer you this final courtesy," the Vorthan continued. "Surrender now and we will grant your species a swift extinction. Resist and we will make your worlds burn for 1,000 years before we allow you the mercy of death." The channel closed with another burst of alien laughter. Lieutenant Rodriguez, the ship's tactical officer, turned from his console with barely contained rage. "Admiral, our weapons are locked and ready. The entire fleet is awaiting your orders." Kepler nodded slowly, his weathered hands clasped behind his back. Around him, the bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency, each person focused on their task, despite the overwhelming odds. 50 human ships faced over 300 Vorthan vessels, yet not one officer showed signs of retreat. "They think we're primitive," Kepler said softly, his voice carrying clearly across the silent bridge. "They see our smaller ships, our different technology, and they assume weakness." He turned to face his crew. "They have no idea what humanity is capable of when our backs are against the wall." The Vorthan fleet began its advance, moving with the lazy confidence of predators cornering wounded prey. Their formation was textbook perfect, overlapping fields of fire, mutual support positions, a classic hammer and anvil approach that had served them well across a dozen conquered systems. "Sir," Rodriguez called out, "they're charging weapons." Multiple energy signatures across their entire line. "Status of the Prometheus package?" "All systems green, Admiral. The entire fleet reports ready for synchronized deployment." Kepler allowed himself a thin smile. The Prometheus package, humanity's desperate gamble, built in secret across 100 hidden facilities, powered by discoveries the Galactic Council had deemed too dangerous for lesser species to comprehend. "They laughed at our fleet," he murmured, then raised his voice. "All ships, this is Admiral Kepler. Execute Prometheus on my mark." He paused, watching as the Vorthan dreadnoughts moved into optimal firing position. "Mark." Across the human fleet, identical modifications activated simultaneously. Each ship's hull split open like a flower blooming in reverse, revealing cores that pulsed with an eerie blue-white light. The energy signatures were unlike anything in known galactic civilization. Not fusion, not antimatter, but something far more fundamental. On the Vorthan flagship, Admiral Zethkalar felt his first moment of uncertainty. "Scanner officer, what am I looking at?" "Unknown energy pattern, sir. The readings are impossible. It's as if they're manipulating the basic forces that hold matter together." The human ships fired as one. What erupted from their modified hulls wasn't the familiar lance of energy weapons or the kinetic fury of mass drivers. Instead, reality itself seemed to tear open along perfectly straight lines that cut through space like cosmic razors. The beams moved at the speed of causality itself, arriving at their targets in the same instant they were fired. The first beam struck the Vorthan flagship's forward section. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the molecular bonds holding the ship's hull together simply stopped. A kilometer-long section of the dreadnought dissolved into its component atoms, which scattered like glittering dust in the vacuum. A Across the Vorthan line, similar scenes played out with mechanical precision. The humans had fired 50 shots, and each shot found its mark with surgical accuracy. The alien formation, so perfect and imposing moments before, was suddenly missing massive chunks of ships, leaving twisted fragments spinning helplessly in space. "Impossible!" Zethkalar shrieked over the comm channels. "No species has weaponized quantum decoherence. The energy requirements alone." "The energy requirements," Kepler interrupted, his voice cutting across the Vorthan frequency with cold precision, "are well within our capabilities. We've had nuclear fusion for centuries, Admiral. We've simply learned to use it more creatively." The human fleet began its advance, their modified hulls still glowing with barely contained power. Each ship moved with purpose, no longer the desperate prey the Vorthans had expected, but apex predators revealing their true nature. "You see," Kepler continued as another volley tore through the alien formation, "you made one critical error in your assessment. You assumed that smaller meant weaker, that different meant inferior." The UES Defiant fired again, and another Vorthan cruiser simply ceased to exist above the molecular level. "You never considered that we might have chosen to build smaller ships not from limitation, but from efficiency." The Vorthan fleet was breaking apart now, their perfect formation dissolving into chaos as ship after ship fell victim to humanity's impossible weapons. Those vessels that remained intact were attempting to flee, but the quantum decoherence beams had no respect for distance or evasive maneuvers. "Humanity spent 10,000 years learning to kill each other with ever-increasing efficiency," Kepler's voice carried across every frequency, ensuring that any surviving Vorthans would carry his words back to their empire. "We turned that knowledge to the stars not for conquest but for survival. You threatened our worlds, our children, our future." The last Vorthan dreadnought exploded in a brilliant cascade of light and debris. "You laughed at our fleet," Kepler concluded, watching as the enemy survivors jumped to FTL in panicked retreat. "We hope you understand now. We didn't build warships. We built weapons that happened to carry people." The human fleet hung motionless in space, surrounded by the expanding debris field of what had once been the Galactic Empire's most fearsome armada. 50 small ships had shattered 300 giants, and word of this victory would spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Humanity had announced itself to the cosmos, and the cosmos would never underestimate them again.